How did people in castles keep food fresh without refrigeration? In medieval times, castles were built to withstand sieges and long periods of isolation, which meant that food preservation was a major concern. Without modern refrigeration, castle inhabitants had to rely on various traditional techniques to keep their food fresh for as long as possible. One of the most important methods was storing food in underground cellars and cool stone rooms. These areas were naturally cold and damp, making them ideal for storing grains, vegetables, and even some meats. Some castles even had ice houses where ice and snow collected during winter were stored in insulated pits, allowing them to preserve perishable food for months. Salting and brining were also widely used to prevent meat and fish from spoiling. Large quantities of salt were rubbed into cuts of meat or mixed with water to create a brine solution where meat could be soaked for preservation. This method worked by drawing moisture out of the food, which slowed down the growth of bacteria. Similarly, smoking meat and fish was another effective way to extend shelf life. The process of hanging food over a fire allowed the smoke to create a protective layer, preventing spoilage and adding a distinct flavor. In addition to meat preservation, drying was commonly used for fruits, vegetables, and even herbs. By removing moisture, dried food lasted much longer and could be rehydrated when needed. Pickling was another essential technique used in medieval castles. Vegetables like cucumbers, onions, and cabbage were soaked in vinegar or a salty brine, creating an acidic environment that prevented bacteria from growing. Likewise, fruits were often preserved in honey or sugar syrup, which helped to keep them from rotting. Fermentation was another popular method, particularly for dairy products. Milk was turned into cheese or yogurt, which lasted much longer than fresh milk. Beverages like beer, ale, and wine were not only enjoyed as drinks but were also safer to consume than water in some cases, as the fermentation process killed harmful bacteria. Apart from preserving food, castles also maintained a steady supply of fresh food. Many castles had large kitchen gardens where vegetables, herbs, and fruits were grown. Livestock such as chickens, cows, and pigs were kept within castle grounds, allowing people to slaughter animals as needed. Fish ponds or nearby rivers provided fresh fish, and in some cases, preserved fish were kept in salt barrels for longer storage. These sustainable food sources ensured that castle residents had a steady diet even during times of siege or harsh winters. With all these preservation methods, medieval castles were able to store food effectively without the need for refrigeration. These age-old techniques allowed people to survive harsh conditions, maintain food security, and even enjoy a variety of flavors despite the lack of modern technology. Many of these traditional preservation methods are still used today, proving their effectiveness in keeping food fresh for extended periods.